Good evening, and welcome to Nocturnal Enigmas. We're not alone. The Thompson family had just moved into their dream home nestled in the quiet countryside. It was a charming old farmhouse, with creaky wooden floors and walls that whispered secrets of the past. The children, Lily and Ethan, were thrilled with the new adventure, while their parents, Sarah and Mark, were excited to escape the hustle and bustle of the city. As the sun dipped below the horizon on their first night in the new house, an eerie feeling settled over the family. The wind outside howled, and the ancient trees surrounding the property seemed to reach out with gnarled branches, casting ominous shadows on the windows. But the Thompsons brushed off their unease, attributing it to the unfamiliarity of their new surroundings. That night, as they lay in their beds, strange noises echoed through the house. At first, they dismissed them as the usual sounds of an old home settling. But as the nights passed, the noises grew more unsettling. Whispered voices seemed to emanate from the walls, and eerie laughter echoed through the dark hallways. One evening, as Sarah tucked Lily into bed, her daughter whispered, "Mommy, I heard someone talking in my closet. They said they wanted to be my friend." Sarah chuckled nervously. "It's probably just your imagination, sweetie. There's no one in your closet." But as Sarah closed the door, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She went to check Ethan's room, where he lay pale and wide-eyed in his bed. "Mom," he stammered, "there's something in the walls. It's watching us." Sarah's heart raced as she tried to dismiss her son's fears. "You two have overactive imaginations. It's just an old house, that's all." But that night, as she lay in bed, she heard it too, a faint, otherworldly whisper that seemed to come from within the walls themselves. It was a language she couldn't understand, filled with alien cadences and eerie tones. Fear coursed through her veins as she realized that this was no ordinary house. The next day, Sarah confided in Mark about the strange occurrences. They decided to investigate. Armed with flashlights, they ventured into the dusty attic. There, hidden behind a forgotten stack of boxes, they found an ancient journal. The journal belonged to a man named Ezekiel, who had lived in the house over a century ago. His writings were filled with ramblings about an encounter with extraterrestrial beings. He claimed that they had come from the stars, seeking refuge on Earth, and had hidden within the walls of the farmhouse. As Sarah and Mark delved deeper into the journal, they uncovered a horrifying truth. Ezekiel believed that the aliens were still here, trapped in the walls, their energy slowly draining the life force from the house's occupants to sustain themselves. Panic set in as they realized that their children were in grave danger. They rushed to Lily and Ethan's rooms, only to find the walls pulsating with an otherworldly glow. The children were pale and unresponsive, their life force fading fast. Desperation and fear gripped Sarah and Mark as they searched for a way to free their children from the alien menace. The walls seemed to close in around them, and the unearthly whispers grew louder, drowning out their frantic cries. In a last-ditch effort, they followed Ezekiel's journal instructions and performed a ritual to banish the aliens from the house. As they chanted the incantation, the walls trembled, and the alien presence began to retreat. With a blinding flash of light, the farmhouse was freed from the extraterrestrial grip. Lily and Ethan slowly woke from their lifeless state, their eyes wide with terror. The Thompson family left that cursed farmhouse behind, forever haunted by the alien presence that had hidden in its walls. They knew they had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death, and they couldn't forget the eerie whispers that had echoed through the house, the whispers of beings from beyond the stars, hiding in the shadows, waiting for their chance to feed on the living once more. Portal to Yesteryear. As Mark stumbled through the dense woods one foggy evening, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was lost. The chilling wind whispered through the trees, and eerie shadows danced around him. With each step, the forest seemed to swallow him further, obscuring any trace of the path he had followed. His anxiety grew with each passing minute, until finally he tripped over something hidden beneath the underbrush and tumbled headlong into a frigid pond. Gasping for air, he clawed his way to the muddy bank, soaked to the bone. But as he looked around, his breath caught in his throat. The surroundings were surreal. A dilapidated farmhouse stood nearby, its time-worn wooden walls barely holding together. The air was filled with the faint sound of horse-drawn carriages and the distant chatter of people speaking in archaic accents. Mark's heart raced as he realized he had fallen into a different time. Terrified and disoriented, he stumbled toward the farmhouse. Inside, he found a family dressed in old-fashioned clothing, staring at him in shock. Their eyes held a mixture of fear and confusion. Mark tried to explain his predicament, but his words seemed foreign to them. Days turned into weeks, and Mark struggled to adapt to this new existence. He learned to speak their language and even found work on the farm. Still, the feeling of being a stranger in time never left him. One night, as he gazed at the stars from the farmhouse porch, he wondered if he would ever find a way back to his own time. The pond had become a portal to a world he never imagined, a world of fear and uncertainty. As the years passed, Mark became a legend in the small village, the mysterious man who fell from the sky and appeared out of nowhere. But he never found his way back to the future. And as he grew old in that distant time, he realized that perhaps he was meant to be a part of the past all along, a ghostly figure from a different era, forever lost in the annals of history. The Crimson Flame. John had always dreamed of becoming a grill cook, and his dream finally came true when he landed a job at the Crimson Flame, a renowned restaurant in the heart of the city. The place had a reputation for its succulent steaks, and John was excited to be a part of the culinary team. On his first day, the head chef, a burly man named Victor, welcomed him with a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. Victor was known for his secret recipes, and as the days passed, John couldn't help but notice the strange behavior of his fellow cooks. One night, while cleaning the kitchen, John discovered a locked freezer hidden in a dimly lit corner. Curiosity got the better of him, and he managed to pick the lock. Inside, he found something that sent shivers down his spine, a stack of meat that looked disturbingly like steak cuts. But there was something off about them, something he couldn't quite put his finger on. As days turned into weeks, John couldn't shake his growing suspicion. He overheard hushed conversations among the staff, rumors of missing persons, and the odd disappearances of delivery personnel. The more he delved into the mysteries of the Crimson Flame, the more convinced he became that something sinister was happening. One evening, when he was scheduled to work the late shift alone, John decided to investigate further. He dug through Victor's office and found a ledger filled with cryptic entries mentioning special cuts and unusual quantities of meat ordered. The names of the missing delivery personnel matched those of the victims reported in local news. Terror gnawed at John's conscience as he confronted Victor, demanding answers. Victor's eyes hardened, and a sinister grin spread across his face. He revealed the chilling truth. The steaks served at the Crimson Flame were not the prime cuts of beef John had believed them to be. They were, in fact, the flesh of unsuspecting victims who had crossed the restaurant's path. John had stumbled into a horrifying nightmare, trapped in a kitchen of horrors. He knew he had to escape and expose the truth. But as he turned to run, Victor lunged at him, knife in hand. A struggle ensued, and in the chaos, John managed to knock Victor unconscious. He fled the restaurant, desperate to bring the dark secret to light. The police were called, and the Crimson Flame was investigated. The truth sent shockwaves through the city, and Victor was arrested for his gruesome crimes. John's dream of being a grill cook had turned into a nightmare, but he had become a hero in the process, unmasking the terrifying secret of a restaurant where the stakes were far more than they seemed. Parasitic Descent. In the distant reaches of space, the crew of the starship Eclipse ventured into the unknown. Their mission? To explore a desolate, uncharted planet. The landing was rough, a jarring thud that echoed through the hull. Commander Sarah Marshall led the team, and they stepped onto the alien terrain. The planet was eerie, shrouded in perpetual twilight, with gnarled trees resembling skeletal hands reaching for the sky. Their curiosity led them to a strange, oozing pool at the planet's heart. It pulsed with a sickly, otherworldly glow. Scientist Dr. Marcus approached, kneeling down to examine the alien substance. Without warning, the pool surged, launching tendrils that latched onto Marcus's suit. He screamed as the tendrils burrowed through the fabric and into his flesh. The crew rushed to his aid, but it was too late. Marcus convulsed, his skin taking on a metallic sheen as he transformed into a twisted, biomechanical monstrosity. His eyes glowed with malevolent intent as he turned on his former colleagues. Panic ensued. The once unified crew was now split between those trying to escape and those defending themselves against their transformed comrades. Limbs twisted into grotesque shapes, and distorted voices echoed through the alien forest. Desperation set in as they realized their escape was impossible. Sarah, now leading the survivors, made a heart-wrenching decision. With a heavy heart, she activated the starship's engines and launched it into orbit, leaving the cursed planet behind. As the Eclipse soared away, Sarah watched through a viewing port as the planet dwindled into the darkness. Their mission had become a nightmare, a haunting reminder of the parasitic descent that had forever changed them. In the cold expanse of space, the transformed crew members remained, waiting for another unsuspecting ship to land on their forsaken planet, ready to continue their gruesome descent upon the unsuspecting. Keepsakes. In a quiet town swallowed by shadows, a tattered sign flickered above Eternal Keepsakes, a labyrinth of forsaken storage units. Lucas, an enthusiast of antiquities, purchased one forgotten unit, only to discover within it a vintage television, its silhouette etched in rust and dust. When he powered it on, shadows danced within the screen's eerie glow. Curious, he scanned the channels but found only his own memories manifested. His deepest fears played out in flickering monochrome. It was a mirror to his mind, revealing nightmarish scenes steeped in despair. Each glimpse into the screen weaved horrific visions, twisted faces of sorrow, ghoulish figures lurking in shadows, whispers filled with venom reaching out to him. The TV resonated with unspoken fears, conjuring apparitions draped in agony. Lucas, caught in the spectral theater, witnessed his very soul corrode, the layers peeling away to expose a darkness unknown to his waking mind. His attempts to look away were futile. The television chained his gaze, ensuring every macabre scene seared into his being. His reality twisted, mingling with shadows, and the world around him distorted as his mind unraveled. Friends became wraiths with hollowed eyes, whispering truths laced with torment. The air thickened with silent screams, and the ground pulsated with the heartbeats of unseen horrors. The line between the mental and the material blurred, and the symphony of fear played relentlessly, entrapping Lucas in a never-ending dance with his inner demons. The television, a gateway to his fractured mind, chained him to his shadows, forcing him to relive every haunting image. It was the ultimate curator of nightmares, endlessly playing the horrors of the soul until his reality became a reflection of his darkest thoughts. The television screen, the only witness to his silent screams. The world around Lucas transformed, an eternal night of terror, the TV, a relentless conductor in this symphony of shadows.